Let's talk about the Tortured Poets department. I wanted to start off by thanking everyone for watching my reaction videos. I've been loving having conversations with people in the comments, so if you haven't watched those videos, go back and watch them, comment in them, tell me what you think about the album. I feel like this album is so complex and everyone is gathering their own sort of opinions about everything that I think it's really fun to talk to other people to see what they think about it. So go watch those videos if you haven't, but thank you for those of you that did, and for those of you that have commented, it means a lot. So today, in this video, I wanted to just kind of talk about the Tortured Poets department because it has been out for about 6 days now. It is Wednesday when I'm filming this, so we've almost had the album for a week, and I feel like I'm just now starting to like know most of the choruses and like the songs that I love, like I know most of the verses, and I will start by saying that I do love most of the album. I'm gonna do a ranking, so stay tuned for that, but I also wanted to talk about sort of like the discourse around this album before I talk about my personal feelings about it. I did just say I loved it, but I want to talk more about that. But anyways, I want to talk about just like the amount of hate that I've seen this album get is crazy. Like I can't understand how people are incapable of forming their own opinions these days. And I guess I knew that because I know that social media is very, like I feel like with the algorithm, it's so amazing when you scroll on TikTok and all the videos are catered to you, but then also with the algorithm, you're seeing all of your same opinions, if that makes any sense. And you have like, people these days have no ability to like look outside of what they think, and they only look at it from the lens of what's in front of them or what's on their For You page, which I have seen the hate stuff and I completely disagree. So I have been seeing both sides. So I'm just able to analyze both sides very clearly. And I do that with everything in my life, honestly. Like I'm always kind of researching and not just looking at the headlines, not just like agreeing with people because I read it on Twitter or whatever. I kind of like to form my own opinions, which a lot of people these days don't like to do, and I want to talk about it. So with this album, there has been so many like crazy hate tweets, and I did see like before I listened to the album, I was trying to avoid Twitter because I knew the album had leaked, and when I knew that it leaked, I was trying to minimize the amount of leaks I saw. However, there was so much going on with like Taylor Nation posting the different lyrics and stuff, so I still wanted to like see stuff from the album release, but not people who listen to the leaks. So it was really difficult to navigate, and you also like don't know what's real and what's fake because of AI and different things these days. So I did see lines from the album before I listened to it, which I didn't even really realize until afterwards, like during my reaction. I think I was just so shocked that I didn't remember anything, but like I did see the Charlie Puth line, and I remember when I saw the Charlie Puth line, I was like, what the hell is this? Like, this is so just different for her. Like, I wasn't expecting this from her. I was really confused by it, but I didn't allow that to like seep into my judgment of the album. And that was pretty much like the only lyric spoiler I got. I didn't really get any spoilers sonically. I did read a few people saying it sounded like Midnight, and a lot of people saying they hated it, but it was mostly like the people that listened to the leaks weren't Swifties, so like of course they were gonna say they hated it just to like garner attention. So I went in there like not really expecting to listen, especially because like I remember when Midnight's leaked last time, and I mean, to be honest, a lot of the leak stuff that I read was positive about Midnight's. Like everybody was saying that it was so good, it was so different. But with this, mostly everything was negative. But anyways, I also think like just her star power. I mean, Midnight's was her biggest like era, I guess, or I don't know, when she had the most eyes on her, but then this is like actually 10 times the amount. It's crazy to see the difference, and people are so quick to judge. And I think if you see the Charlie Puth line, for example, that's just one of the lyrics that I feel like people have been ripping up. Like if you see that at first, maybe you might think like, this is stupid, like she's a songwriter, like what is she doing? But like if you, I don't know, listen to the songs, you can kind of come up with your own opinion and realize that it was a conversation that her and the person she's singing about were having, and so it makes it like a real, I don't know, I think lyrics that share this diaristic, I think like if it was a conversation she had, she didn't need to like make it poetic or change words or change the artist. Like she was just saying an exact conversation she was having with a person. So one thing, people just read lyrics and then judge it instantly based on the lyric, which I kind of get. I understand. I feel like you shouldn't really say anything about it though unless you've heard the song. So whatever, that's just one thing. And then the whole on I Hate It Here, the whole 1830s controversy and that line, which I'm sure you know, but if you don't know, she says, my friends and I play a game where you can go to any decade, and I would choose the 1830s, but without the racists and selling people off as brides. Which, that's the only part of the song, obviously, that's being posted. So there's no context of the whole song, and now she's talking about like the romanticism of nostalgia. And she says literally directly after those lines that like, even if she were alive back then, she knew she would hate it because nostalgia is a mind's trick. Like, we're so like, oh, I wish I lived in that time period, or I wish I lived in that decade, or I wish I could go back to this time in my life. But it's actually just like nostalgia, what you've sort of created in your mind about that time that is tricking you to think that that time was better than like your present day. But it's just because you haven't like romanticized your present day. But in the future, you'll do the same exact thing. Like, anyways, she talks about nostalgia being a mind trick. And that whole song is just about escaping basically real life and going into your mind. And that's kind of what a lot of people do to cope. So anyways, the whole song is being taken out of context. I'm not even really sure how people have twisted it so much, and people say it's cringy, or people say it's racist, or people say it's weird. Why would you even want to go back to the 1830s without even thinking of like, I mean, I've just read things saying that like this was like a big time in literature and poetry and different things like that. So it's like thematically fits the theme where it's the tortured poets department. And if this was a big decade or year for poetry, like she picked it because it had to do with the theme of the album. But of course people don't want to like look into that. They just want to read what they saw on Twitter, and then that is the fact. Next thing, or the next hate thing, I don't really like to address the hate, to be honest, but I saw this TikTok that was talking about how like normal people who hate, this is me using TikTok as an example when everyone else like who are hating are using TikTok as an example, so take this with a grain of salt. But like, you never see this much hate about any other artist when it comes to like lyrics being posted and said like cringy, or like even like down bad people were saying is cringy. But it's like nobody takes a lyric from artist XYZ and like twists it or post just that one lyric and judge it based off that lyric. Taylor's the only one, and it is because of how famous she is, but she's always experienced this. Like if you think back to the Midnights, I actually do remember some hate during the Midnights leaks, I guess, because like Karma, when those lyrics leaked, people were freaking out, and I really only saw them after the fact. But now everybody I mean, I feel like a lot of people who, especially from like reactions I watch, people say like this is cringe or this is whatever, but then afterwards they talk about how like they kind of get it, and then once they get it, they love it because it's such a simple concept that can mean a lot of different things to a lot of people. Anyways, I don't know that I really want to address the haters anymore, but I just am so sick and tired of hearing about it and hearing people's, like, if that was somebody's own opinion based on what they heard in a song, like if they listened to the song I Hate It Here and hated the 1830s line, then I understand it and I think it's justified. But the fact that they're only saying that because they saw a tweet about it instead of actually listening to the song, and like I've had conversations with people in real life asking them what they thought about the album, or they share their opinions unsolicited, and so many people just say the same things, like the 1830s line, and I mean, people are mentioning like religious metaphors, and people are mentioning just everything that's been like a huge topic on TikTok and Twitter. Those are the things that people say to me when I ask them what they think of the album without actually giving like their own opinion or their own thoughts. So I think it's interesting how the media is controlling people's minds. I mean, it always does and it always has, but doesn't she say something about fake news in this album? Anyways, I think this album is genius. Hold on, I need to respond to this. Anyways, now to my opinions and my own thoughts that I formed and gathered on my own, and also some that I've had to gather from like other people talking about the album, because again, this album is so lyrically heavy and people can draw different things from each song, and I think that that's what makes Taylor Swift such a genius songwriter that I think a lot of people don't relate to, or like, because for me personally, when I listen to music, all of what I'm listening to is the lyrics, and then like sonically I can like excuse something that sounds maybe weird to me at first or whatever. I just like listen to the lyrics first and then let that help me decide if I like a song or an album or something. I feel like with Taylor, I mean, her lyrics are the best, which is why I've always, and why everybody has like stuck with her throughout all of her genre changes and like her just kind of experimenting with her music, because at her core, her lyricism has always like been the same. And so I think that that's why she's had the same fan base her whole life. Whereas other artists who maybe aren't as involved with like the lyric writing of their music, when they switch genres or it's their next album, people aren't as attached to it because it doesn't have that thing that like made them like them in the first place, whether it was the music or the lyrics from the first album. And then the second album, if they worked with different writers or sonically things sounded different. Whereas with Taylor, it's always like lyrics first and her writing everything. So that's why I think she's maintained the fan base that she has maintained. I think that's why I love this album, and I've loved every album of hers. Again, like even like sonically, if I'm thinking about it, like Reputation, that sound isn't something that I would listen to necessarily from another artist. But lyrically, it's so good that the sound doesn't matter, but then you kind of realize how it complements the lyrics. But anyways, if the bass is the lyrics, then you can kind of, well, just for me, I'm saying, for me, because I look for lyrics, then the sound isn't as important to me, whereas other people's sound is more important, or instruments or vocals. So I understand maybe why this album at first listen doesn't like stick to people right away. But let me just say, I guarantee if you listen to the album like twice or 3 times, you're going to love it. Like there's just sonically, it sounds so good, and not even from a lyric perspective, but I mean the sounds in this album are so good. And I just love it. It's excellent. I'm gonna go ahead and share my initial ranking. Again, the album has only been out for 6 days, and especially with Taylor's music, my favorites change all the time. Should do another like album ranking video because, well, we've gotten like a few re-recording and vault tracks since I did it last, so we'll see. I need to do it again, I think, especially with 31 new songs. But my ranking is always changing because I'm kind of like realizing things at different times, or it kind of depends on like the experiences that you're going through in your life. And that's why I think this album, like not having any pre-release singles, is good, because it kind of gives people to relate to the songs that they relate to, or like the songs that they like to. A lot of like my favorites on the song can't relate to at all, but sonically they just sound so good, or I love how she says something, or I don't know. I'm gonna share with you my favorite, or sorry, my ranking, my initial ranking. This will change, so maybe I'll do an updated video at a later date. Because even as I'm reading this list, things have changed, and I just did this list like an hour ago. But I kind of want to share with you why each song is ranked the way that it is, or I'll give special notes to certain songs. Anyways, let's go ahead and start with, I don't know if I should start with number 1 or start at the bottom. I'll start with number 1. Actually, I'll just give you my top 5. My top 5 right now are But Daddy, I Love Him is number 1. Number 2 is So Long London. Number 3 is Love of My Life. Number 4 is Fortnight. Number 5 is I Can Do It With a Broken Heart. These are my top 5 at this current moment, which I already don't think is my top 5 anymore. I would put maybe I Can Do It With a Broken Heart a little bit lower. Even though I love the song, I'm looking at some of the next songs, and I think that they might beat them. A few things I wanted to say. I think But Daddy, I Love Him, this is a song that I love that she did, just because it's like a big middle finger to the Swifties, and I think that that's amazing. A lot of people needed that, even though I don't think it's going to do anything because they're all still delusional, and I am one. But I'm just saying, like, it's a bit much what people do sometimes. But I love that she said what she was feeling and she felt compelled to share it with us also, even though we're the people that she's singing about in a way. Honestly, it just has that, I don't know what it is, that drive behind it that makes me love it. There's something about the like melodic composition, or I'm not even sure what it is, that makes me just love the way that it feels in my ears. And that's why I love that song. Next song, I have So Long London. I also don't know that I'm ranking this as high. Sorry, I think my ranking of this is gonna change for sure. Right now it's my favorite because of literally the beginning, like the church bells of her voice is beautiful. And then the line where she says like, every breath feels like rarest air. I love the way she sings that. I don't know what it is about that line specifically, but I love it. So that song is literally number 2 because of that one part like that. And I'm just da-da, right back in my... That whole like just beat in the background is so good. And again, that rarest air lyric is my favorite lyric. Maybe... And not even because of the words necessarily, but because of the way she sings the words, which is not like usual for me for Taylor's music, but for this song, it's why it's ranked so high. My next song is Love of My Life, as I mentioned. Love just this sad, sad breakup, and I love the way she sings this one as well. Again, I'm still realizing things or liking different things on different songs as I'm listening each time, because there's so many songs you can only like really have listened to them so many times at this point. And so I'm still like realizing why I like certain songs, or realize like maybe I skip, especially as we go later, I skip a few songs because I just want to listen to like the way she says rarest air again and again and again. That's seriously like why I skip some of the songs that are lower on my list. But the second I listen to the album, I've been doing it on shuffle. I listen to the album, of course, all the way through in normal order, consecutive order, but I'm never gonna learn the songs if I stay that way, so I have to shuffle them now. And I always start with But Daddy I Love Him, and then So Long London, and that's 10 minutes. So depending on how much time I have, I can only listen to so many songs afterwards, which makes getting to know the other songs a little bit difficult. So that's kind of why, again, things are being ranked higher. But Love of My Life, just the way the chorus is beautiful, her voice is so good, and just the piano. Fortnight, I don't even want to talk about this one much. It wasn't really one of my favorites initially, but just as I keep listening to it, it actually feels like a drug. Like, she puts, what does she say in one of the songs? She puts Narcan or nicotine or something addictive in her songs. I can't even think of what song that's in right now, but it's true, because Fortnight, I literally like want to line it up and snort it. It's so good. Song, I Can Do It With a Broken Heart. This is more, I feel like, just the fact that it's mentioning the Eras tour and the fact that the lyrics are so depressing behind the really upbeatness of it. I love the dichotomy of it, and it's just so good. Okay, now my 6 through 10 is I'm Gonna Get You Back, How Did It End, My Boy Only Breaks His Favorite Toys, The Black Dog, and I Hate It Here. I'm Gonna Get You Back right now is starting to go higher and higher on my list, and this is just because of the bridge. I love the way she says, you know, the pause, what does she do? I can't even think about it right now. And we still play the game. That's the best part to me. Just that whole bridge of the flow and melody of it is why I love that song so much, and I keep listening to it because of that bridge and the way she just pauses and does a, oh, it's so good. And then How Did It End? So heartbreaking. My Boy Only Breaks His Favorite Toys. That one, the chorus is just so big and so good. That one feels like a Taylor Swift chorus. Love it. Next song, The Black Dog. Again, I love the piano ballads, and that is one of them. And I Hate It Here. I love it. So keep your opinions your opinions. Gonna go ahead and list the rest, 11 through 31. I have Thank You, aIMee, Fresh Out the Slammer, The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived, So High School, The Prophecy, which actually that one I think would be higher now, Peter, Guilty as Sin, The Tortured Poets Department, Florida, which I think that one might be a little bit higher now. I Look in People's Windows. Chloe or Sam or Sophia or Marcus. Number 22 is Who's Afraid of Little Old Me. 23 is Down Bad. 24, The Manuscript. 25, The Bolter. 26, I Can Fix Him, No Really I Can. 27, The Albatross. 28, The Alchemy. 29, Cassandra. 30, Robin. 31, Clara Bow. I don't really want to talk about each one specifically because I feel like this is already too long, but some things I want to point out that I really love. The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived, Were You Sent by Someone? That part, I mean, is so good. Love the way she sings that. What else do I love? The Prophecy, Please. I love the whole chorus of The Prophecy. It's so excellent. Guilty of Sin, I think, will also be higher now. What else did I want to talk about? The reason like Clara Bow, Robin, Cassandra, The Alchemy, and The Albatross are the last songs. Clara Bow, for some reason to me, I understand the meaning of it and the message of it, and I think it's a great meaning and message. However, it's just not something that I listen to at the moment. Like I skip it to go to other songs that I'm more excited to listen to. So I will come to like that song more at a later date. And I want you to know I also love the song. Like I actually think that there are no skips on this album, even though I am skipping a few just to listen to other ones again, like just to listen to Rarest Air again. That one line in the 5-minute song. But like Robin, I think is a beautiful song, which I also heard is about Aaron Dessner's son, and I think that's beautiful. Or just honestly it being to a child and talking about lessons of life, which I'll talk more if I do a deep dive on what the songs are about. But let me know if you want that, by the way. But just again, something I'm skipping to go to other stuff. Cassandra is also one of those songs. The Alchemy and the Albatross, I honestly mix them up. I don't know which one's which, to be honest. Well, I do, but like sometimes I get them mixed up, and then I don't know which one I like more than the other, so I just rank them both low. Other than that, I don't really want to talk about any other song specifically. I will say, like, even with Folklore, my opinion on those songs change all the time, and especially like with a song like Hoax, which is the last song in the standard version of the album, it would have been ranked really low on my initial ranking. But these days, like when I listen to that album now, I start the album with Hoax because I love it so much. But because it's lower on the track list, you find yourself listening to those ones less, and I find that that's kind of the situation here. But I know that as time goes on, I'm just gonna have different times with each song and different moments that make me appreciate the song more. And I think that's what's so special about this album and people's life experiences and their own opinions, is that people will relate to different songs on this album. People will like the way different songs on this album sound, because as cohesive as it is, and a lot of people have been saying like, it sounds the same, it sounds the same. No, I understand why you think it sounds the same if you listen to all 31 songs without like reading the lyrics with it, or really like doing, like focusing on the songs, because I can picture just that really like melancholy sound throughout sounding the same to somebody. But like if you actually listen to the song, they don't sound the same. I think the second half of the album, or I guess the double album, sounds so much like Evermore. I love it so much, and I just need more time with those songs again because I've just can't stop listening to my 5 favorites. Okay, maybe that's gonna be it for today's video. I just mostly wanted to talk about like the hate and why I like the album so much in this video, and then give you like an initial ranking, and then at a later date maybe I'll give you an updated ranking, or kind of let you know more thoughts on the album. Because again, I think this album is going to take time for everybody. Like in a few years people are gonna say this is her best album. I honestly, if I had to rank her albums right now, I wouldn't be able to do it. But I do think, I also don't want to rank this at the top at the moment, because I know it's like new release excitement. Oh, this is her best. Which, I don't know that I would have said that with Midnights. Like I wouldn't have said it was her best when it came out. But with this album, I'm immediately almost putting it at the top, because Evermore and Folklore have always been my top 2. And this is like those lyrically with like sonically sounding like a mix between Midnights and Evermore, and I am obsessed with that sound specifically. Like the 1989 Vault tracks, it's similar in that way, which I also love. So I honestly, at this moment, think it's at the top, but I, again, don't want to rank it prematurely, so stay tuned for that. Go ahead and let me know what your top 5 is. I'm really curious because, again, I do think a lot of people have different top 5s, and I think But Daddy I Love Him and So Long London will not be in my top 5 as I continue listening to the album and sort of connect to different songs. But just right now, sonically, those ones, like the melodies and the music, are what is making me replay them, because lyrically every song is drawing me in, but sonically those two really stand out at the moment. So let me know in the comments. Let's keep talking, because I love talking about this album with people who actually like it and form their own opinions. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel if you want to keep watching more videos. I will also continue to do more reactions of other artists, but at a later date. I'll just be listening to this album on repeat until I don't even know, like I can't even picture a time frame, because it's so many songs in the best way possible. Thinking back to my reaction, it's so funny how shocked I was, because I genuinely, like, those were real feelings and shock. And I'm still feeling that excitement. Like, I feel like I'm still riding that high, to be honest. So, anyways, let me know your favorites down below, and let's keep the conversations going in the comments. Thank you for watching. Peace. I also do think a lot of the reason people maybe don't like the album at this exact moment, or didn't like the album at first, is because 31 songs is a lot of music to like digest, which, again, looking back at my reaction, by the second album I was like exhausted, not because I was tired of listening to music, but because I was just actually tired. So I can understand why people who aren't even like super interested in like Taylor Swift can be burnt out by the music, and understand that it is a lot of songs to digest. However, I do think as time goes on, people will realize and understand why the album is so great. And I also think that's why like critics are rating it so poorly and everyone is talking so much trash about it, is because they don't get it yet, but they will.